everyone! This video has been quite requested by people on sites like College Confidential, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my best tips for getting into the Telluride Association Summer Program, otherwise known as TASP. I was accepted to and attended TASP in a year where the acceptance rate was 3.1%, and I'm going to show you guys pretty much exactly what I did to get in that you can do too, including the one thing that can make or break your application. So let's get into it. So for those of you going, what the heck is TASP? I'll just explain here really quickly. So TASP is a completely free 6-week summer program for rising high school seniors, so people who just finished their junior year of high school, and it's hosted by a few college campuses each year. Now, the thing that sets TASP apart from most of the other summer camps in America, and I guess the world as a whole, is it's basically considered to be the premier camp for humanities, and part of its prestige comes from the fact that its acceptance rate is insanely low and tends to hover around 3%. So TASP is called a golden ticket oftentimes by different people because a lot of the TASPers, as we call them, end up going to the top 10 or so schools in the United States and elsewhere. So we see a lot of the Ivy League, and then also like Stanford, Oxford, Cambridge, top like 20 liberal arts schools, MIT, Caltech, that kind of caliber of college. Harvard loves TASP, Stanford loves TASP, Cornell loves TASP, Swarthmore, and that's because the kinds of students that TASP tends to select often also tend to be the kinds of students that those top colleges like to admit to their applicant pool, and that's because the TASP application, there's a whole jargon for these things, I swear, really focuses on your thought process. It's not about the grades, it's not about the SAT scores, it's not about any of that stuff, it's just about who you are and how you think. And it's my hope that this video can help answer some of the questions that people have about what that means, and that I definitely had when I was applying to TASP. So, now that you guys understand what the basic idea of TASP is, let's get right into actually applying to it. So beyond just like filling in your information, like with every application in the known universe, what really defines the TASP application is its essays. It's long essays. These essays change ever so slightly every year and have word counts of hovering around maximum 1,500. And you thought the Common App was bad. I'm going to mainly focus on the essays in this video because really nothing else matters as much as they do, not even close. There are questions that ask you what books or movies or works of art you've enjoyed either for school or on your own time, and you just have to list those. It's not any kind of psychological mind play, really just what you like. There are questions about demographics, that kind of thing. Nothing else comes close to having the kind of significance that these essays do for whether you become a finalist. So for the year that I applied, there are 3 long essay prompts, and it's basically the same this year except for the one that was the 3rd long essay prompt is now split into 2 shorter essay prompts with a couple new details. So here we have my first essay, which responded to the prompt, reflect on the education, formal and informal, you have received. What experiences have you felt fortunate or unfortunate to have? Based on these experiences, tell us what unique perspective you will bring to TASP. Now, this is a whole 1,500-word essay, so obviously I'm not going to read the whole thing or we'd be here all day, but I do want to share just a few aspects of each of my essays that I feel personally contributed to me being accepted by TASP. Please don't copy or plagiarize or anything because that's not cool, and obviously they're going to know, but I do hope this can give you an idea of what you want to write and think about for your own essays, which will probably be way more fabulous than mine. So I started this essay with a personal anecdote, and I actually ended up doing that for all of my essays just because it felt right to me, and specifically this anecdote is about my sister and me when we were little and how we would make up stories and act them out together, so I'll read a little to you guys. Shh, I whispered to my twin as we huddled together beneath a collection of shrubs, leaves quivering above our heads. They'll hear us if you make any noise. The Mothmen are coming, she whispered back. We've got to battle them when they come. What will we fight them with? She hefted a jagged stone in her clenched fist and offered one to me. No Mothmen can stand in the face of these swords. Perfect, I agreed. We'll defeat them and bring peace to the land and return to it all its stolen color and life. and bring peace to the land we did, time after time, each iteration with a new twist on the storyline, a new enemy to defeat, a new role to play. As soon as we could speak, my sister and I created our own worlds, universes of myth and magic that we, hapless pedestrians, could one day fall into. We crafted 100 personas for ourselves, found each other marooned on islands or hiding in plain sight, and, with one another's help, lived 1,000 mystical lives before we hit double digits. I connected that anecdote to my education, so then we have this paragraph. It was only after we began writing these stories down that I realized just how much we had learned from them. That whole time I had been creating, blending what I loved about the world I lived in and manifesting for myself so clearly my preteen eyes could almost see them, those aspects I would change if I could. I had been learning that, no matter my current circumstances, I could craft for myself my very own world, and if I could do that, I could also craft my own life, the kind I wanted to live. And for that reason, I would strongly advise against just covering the classes you took in school. I would definitely try and think about what taught you something in life, even if it never took place. Further again, I do obviously discuss my formal education, so I wrote, being cyber-schooled, I have taken advantage of the myriad of courses available on the internet. In the interest of time, I have to leave out reading a lot of this essay, but I have linked to it down below if you're interested in reading the whole thing. I'm just going to skip to the end. So, I believe that worlds are made by those who live in them, and it is my goal in life to work together with others to create the kind of community I want to live in, where we all have the opportunity to lead the lives we want to live. If accepted to TASP, I will bring both that desire and the experiences I have already had in doing so. TASP is a community in itself, and I will be ready and willing to help build that community, to unite with other students and create a seminar where, for 6 weeks, we nurture our own world. So what I was trying to do in this conclusion was make it all worth it for the readers, essentially. I wanted everything I had written to have some kind of a payoff. So I brought back that idea of creating worlds with my sister, and I used that to frame everything that I was saying that I would bring to TASP. So we have 2 more essays to get through, and so I'm just going to get right into the next one with you guys. The prompt for the second essay for me was, and still is today, at TASP, you will discuss texts and ideas in a college-style seminar. You should feel comfortable thinking deeply about an issue, communicating a well-reasoned stance, and genuinely engaging with others' positions. To that end, tell us about a time a discussion, piece of writing, movie, work of art, or other life experience changed your mind. What did you believe at first, and how were you persuaded to adopt your new viewpoint? So once again, I decided to start this essay with an anecdote, which at first doesn't seem related to the topic of my essay, but then I tie it in later. So I had chosen the book Quintana of Shurin, I think it's Shurin, it could be Sharon, I'm honestly not sure, which is a young adult Australian fantasy novel. So right off the bat, that should show you that you really do not have to pick anything that's super scholarly or academic, or that you think that they're trying to look for. It doesn't have to be something that graduate students study or anthropologists unearth. It just has to be what you're interested in. Always, always, always go with something that's meaningful to you. Even if it's a little, trashier, or so to speak, than something that's really well respected, but that you personally don't really care about. So, I'll read the beginning for you guys. The day before my sister's and my 10th birthday party, we took a look at our guest list and realized in horror that practically none of our guests knew one another. What if they all hated each other and the party devolved into side-eye and temper tantrums? Worse, what if they didn't want to make teams for Capture the Flag, the highlight of the day? The party, this monumental entrance into the era of double digits, we ruined forever, a blight upon our family history. We looked back at the guest list, then at each other. I saw my own thoughts reflected in my twins' eyes as surely as if I had written them there myself. We can't let this happen. Somehow, we were going to have to figure out how to foster liberty, equality, and fraternity amongst 15 unacquainted preteens in time for cake and ice cream. All right, we figured, all in a day's work. So we drew up a scavenger hunt designed to encourage our guests to work together to find the prize Optimus Maximus, now sadly lost to history, but undoubtedly something grand enough to strike enough wonder and awe into the hearts of a bunch of 9 to 11-year-olds to make them scavenge the heck out of that hunt. By the end of the party the next day, they were trading silly bands and cell phone numbers, the indubitable signs of teenage affection. My twin and I had managed to join forces and, in doing so, help our guests to do the same, to come together as a community and bask in the glory of our united friendship. Until Capture the Flag inevitably tore us all apart again in a fiery blaze of glory and outrage, of course. Flash forward 6 years to winter break of my 10th grade year, and I'm lying sprawled across my bed, staring at the ceiling and contemplating every life choice that led to me lying here, clutching the novel Quintana of Shirin in my hand, wondering what happened to that 10-year-old social butterfly. For months, I had wholeheartedly believed that it would be best for me to avoid my friends, to quietly exit the communities I had played a role in creating, to focus only on academics. And it had worked. My grades were undeniably the best they had ever been that semester. Still, never before had any book, any film, any discussion reduced me to lying on my bed with my eyes glued to the ceiling, and for the next few days, the words I had read permeated my brain and my bloodstream, whispering to me when I woke in the morning and when I went to bed at night. I have always believed that every well-written book is, at its heart, a self-help book, that each has something incredibly valuable to impart to its readers. This is something I challenge myself to do in my own writing, and something I look for in everything I read. I didn't have to look too hard in Quintana of Shirin. The entire trilogy's overarching message was that, even in the face of something horrible, we human beings can unite and refuse to allow tyranny to destroy our hope. When we come together in mutual support and form communities, imperfect perhaps, but so strong that they cannot be broken, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could have alone. So I had written about how I had been overly focused on grades and contests and working as hard as possible to the detriment of myself and my community, and then I was showing how the book brought me out of that kind of unhelpful mindset. And then I finished it off with, book still gripped in my hand, I pushed myself into a seated position on my bed, reached for my computer, and opened up the Skype group for the class of 2018 at my school. I set the book to the side, fingers hovering over my keyboard, took a deep breath. It can never hurt to try, typed 4 words, and hit the enter key to send. Hey guys, I'm back. Finally, the last essay that I responded to had the prompt, TASPs are small educational communities that rely greatly on individual members' maturity. Tell us about a time you did something that upset or hurt someone in a community you're involved in. How did you respond to this situation? Reflect on your response and evaluate it. What would you do the same, and what might you do differently? Why? And this prompt, like the others, still exists, but like I said at the beginning of the video, nowadays it's 1/2 of a larger prompt and requires a shorter answer, but back then it was the good old 1,500 words. Now, I really took a risk with answering this prompt, in my opinion. I couldn't think of anything I ever did that actually upset or hurt someone in a significant way, in a situation that wasn't just like fighting with my sister over gum or something like that. And so I actually went around and asked a lot of my friends, and they came up with nothing. So I ended up writing about how I had never really hurt or upset anyone in a significant way, and how that in and of itself was significant. It was a conflict because it meant that I had never put myself out there enough. Obviously, that sounds kind of confusing, so I'll read a little from the essay to explain. It might sound contrary to popular thought, but hearing that I had never irritated or offended in any significant way was a wake-up call for me. In school, I was pursuing both knowledge and my passions, questing ahead on an adventure to learn as much as I possibly could, and formulating my own opinions on such information. So why was my first instinct outside of an academic sphere always to nod and murmur agreement? Why did I write poetry railing against society's obsession with the human body, and conduct impassioned discussions with my mother on the nature of truth, and then allow myself to be kept awake by friends all throughout the wee hours of the night for no good reason, just so they could have someone who would listen to and agree with them as they ranted about their love lives or the unfairness of the world? This whole time, I had thought I had been helping, that I had been a good friend, validating my classmates' emotions by concurring with their viewpoints and taking their sides on all matters without offering my own opinion. In my efforts to never hurt a member of my community, I was unwittingly hurting myself and those I interacted with. So then I needed to show TASP how I had grown from that realization, so I wrote about how I had campaigned to get an extra fee removed from creative writing classes at my school. I approached my classmates online and asked them to contribute their creative writing to a literature journal I was assembling, to be published to the school community as a physical representation of student interest in creative writing. Maybe, just maybe, if I could convince enough of my peers to fight through the adolescent haze of procrastination and self-doubt to put together a sufficiently impressive journal, I could have the price lowered and open up possibility of attendance to all of the students in my community, rather than merely a select few. I explained my mission over and over, describing my hope that all the teenagers at my school would have access to the amazing opportunity of attending a seminar with a Stanford University instructor, and finally ended up with 80 pages of original writing from my classmates, which I then compiled and published to my school. A week later, the English teacher emailed me with news that the price hadn't been reduced. It had been obliterated. So I ended by explaining how if I could do it all again, which remember was part of the prompt, I wouldn't change anything except for the speed with which I was able to step out of the shadows and make those waves, so to speak. If you read the essay, which I did link down below along with the others, you'll see that I wrote about how no strong women ever sat back and played by the rules, and how having conflicts with people is a necessary part of getting your ideas out there. If people disagree with you, that's a great opportunity to learn from them. I was really scared to submit this essay because I was worried that it didn't really answer the prompt, but I didn't have a choice. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you made it this far, please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know down below if you're planning on applying to TASP, and let me know what other kinds of videos you guys want to see. I hope this is helpful for you guys, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.